Yes, guys, morning. How you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. It's just me today, Sean Butler. Bugsy Malone's already at home. We tried to record something earlier, it didn't really work, so I'm back out just now by myself. I hope you're all happy and healthy, doing the things you love with the people that you love doing them with. Please do me a favour, guys. Smash the like button for me on the video if you enjoy the content. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and even if you have, double check you still are. Hit the notification bell and drop a comment. Let me know your thoughts on today's video. And I slept on it, guys. I put the video out after the game yesterday. Put the first video out that had Barry Manilow singing in the background, and then I got demonetized, so I deleted that and re-recorded one. And in the second video, because I was in a bit of a hurry, I feel like I over-analysed or spent too much of the bulk of the time talking about the first half, which was disappointing. I didn't spend enough time talking about the second half, which was a massive improvement. And so I feel like, on balance, the video came across very negative, very glass half empty about what happened. And I didn't mean it to be. The emotion of the day and the frustration of the video and all the previous video being, it rushed me, and anyway, it is what it is. But look, I woke up this morning and I wanted to kind of definitely pay credit where it's due to the second half revival, but also talk more at a 10,000 foot view level around my concerns about the inability for me now to kind of analyse a game of football, knowing now what I know, having listened to Ange. I think in isolation you have to analyse, you have to evaluate the games, right? You have to say what you saw, how you felt we played, and whether or not there were areas for improvement. The notion that we won, that's all that matters. Why are you moaning? Get on board, Ange train. For what it's worth, I'm very much on board. I feel like I'm the conductor. I think that it's a moot point to not analyse the game because we won and find what areas for improvement. Similarly, I think that this narrative, when you drop points late on, where the kind of explanation is we're only 6 months into a process, it's going to happen, chin up, move on to the next, is a valid point to a degree. But as a content creator, the whole point of having a channel is that you discuss what's happening at Tottenham Hotspur and how you think, or how you would like to see tweaks and improvements to hopefully optimise the outcomes in the future. And dismissing the good outcomes with kind of weaker input as irrelevant because all that matters is the points, I don't think solves the solution for me, or solves the problem rather. And I think also dismissing the poorer outcomes as part of the process is also insufficient analysis. And so I'm going to always talk about what I see and what I think of the games. However, I have had this epiphany last night that I do think it's difficult to really analyse and land on a final verdict on what you think happened if you are buying into an Ange system where the horse's mouth has already said that part of that system involves scenarios where you're going to concede goals late, you're going to score goals late, you're going to concede goals early and late, you're going to give up space at the back, be vulnerable to counter-attacks and to concessions of goals in an effort to score more, to play good football. It's that in a system where it doesn't matter whether it's the first minute or the 90th, whether the scoreboard is 1-0 in your favour or against you, or any other scoreline, you're going to continue to play the same model of football. If you are on board with that and you know that that is the kind of ground zero of his philosophy, and you've shaken hands with it and you're on board it and you want it, you encourage it, you like it, you appreciate that all of your requests, and for me, speaking for myself here, around what was going to happen after Conte have been met. I wasn't someone who was particularly on board with Conte. I hated his football, I hated his mannerisms, and I was someone that wanted entertainment first, exciting football first, play good football, entertain me, make that the cornerstone of whatever we're going to build, and hopefully then you optimize it towards yielding fruit, delivering success. But first and foremost, you have to be entertained. And I am. The amount of times this season where I've been rewarded for staying in my seat until the 97th minute and facing the additional traffic on the way home because of a goal that's being scored late. I've lost count, right? The game is 100 minutes long at Tottenham. For the good and the bad, for the bitter and the better. Now, last night it worked out. Last night we were on the receiving end. A week earlier, we were on the receiving end of a negative outcome in that regard. But how do you analyse it? This is the question for you guys. I don't know how to analyse the performance of a team that if the analysis is based on the performance, not the outcome, and yet the performance at its heart, what the desired performance from the coach, includes and factors in scenarios where both the Everton, the way that played out, and what happened last night are entirely feasible things that are going to happen. Therefore, if that's what you're on board with, how do you analyse whether it was good or bad? I don't know anymore. I don't know whether or not, the fact that we could have conceded in the first minute of the game last night if it wasn't for a worldie from Vicario, and then we go 1-0 down, and the only thing that really changes is the scoreline. The frustration in our heads, but the players won't let it affect them. We saw them go down twice against Manchester United and come back because that's the way we play. But ultimately, you also go 1-0 up, and then you're more than likely to concede as well. Like as I've said 1,000 times now, you could dial into a Tottenham game and not know if the scoreboard and the timer were blurred out. You would have no idea, looking at the way Tottenham play, what the situation is in the game. And I kind of love it, but as a guy, I do love it. I do love it, 100%. But as a guy who's trying to analyse, I don't know if you're being overly critical, pointing out the fragilities of it when you're on board with it as an overarching emphasis anyway. For me, I thought the first half yesterday was poor. I thought the second half rally was far, far better. I thought it did take the changes in the 60th minute to our forward line to kind of get us moving in the right direction. I think that while Sonny's pass was phenomenal, and I think you can't underemphasise how pinpoint that has to be. Come of the hour, come of the man. In the 96th minute, the pressure's on, the opportunity's there for him to put it on a sixpence for Brennan Johnson, and he's got to find the perfect angle that cuts out two centre-backs, splits between the two and the goalkeeper, hits it hard enough for it to reach Brennan Johnson, but not too hard that it's overhit and not too soft that it's cut out by the defender. Absolutely pinpoint perfect. You can't, if you don't have a world-class player in that position or close to a world-class player in that position, then that doesn't happen. And so it's so fortuitous and wonderful to see that we've got options off the bench now. If Sonny started the game, which is actually what I was asking for, so I probably got it wrong, but if Sonny starts the game and doesn't make it to the 90th minute because he's tired, and you take him off and bring on a Timo Werner, does that happen? Not sure. I mean, yesterday Timo Werner was getting in the right positions lots of times, but his crossing was atrocious. So, smart from Ange yesterday to play it the way he did, or at least it worked out. Maybe if had Sonny been on the pitch from the get-go, we would have been in a better position anyway. Who knows? Who knows? You're talking about a different timeline of reality there. But for me, Brennan Johnson, again, I said this last night, I feel like he's a kind of a metaphor for Tottenham at the moment. Young, enthusiastic, ultimately getting, his GA, his output is pretty good. Like Tottenham's, we sit fourth. But, Brennan Johnson's performance in that 30 minutes yesterday wasn't great. It was at the end of a wonderful cross, tucked it in, and the pressure was on him. He said himself after the game, very nervous, but he was delighted that he got it done, as am I. Well done to him. And then you have, the half of the fan base that want to analyse his performance during the first 30 minutes of his game, and want to say, well, look, fair play for getting the job done, but you still need to improve here, here, and here. And then the other half of the fan base, or the other section of the fan base, that say, lay off him, get off his back. He's a young kid and he's delivering when it counts. And I think that's a good metaphor for sort of Tottenham Hotspur. We are fourth in the league, so we're getting it done well ahead of schedule under Ange. But yet, let me ask you, like, when was the last time that Tottenham really turned over a team for 90 minutes? Newcastle, probably. And before then, you have to probably go all the way back to, like, Burnley, right? Every other game, the ones we've won or the ones we've lost or the ones we've drawn, there's been moments in the game where we've looked fantastic, and there's been moments in the game where we've looked awful, and everything in between. We're vulnerable at the back. They're always vulnerable, whoever you're playing against, maybe with the exception of Manchester City at home in the Cup. But every other game, there's been moments where we've made other teams, however good they are on paper, look poor because of our ability to pass. And so when you have a team that sits fourth in the league but hasn't really dominated anybody all season, or maybe one or two teams, you know, like I say, it's kind of like, it's difficult to figure out what's going on, and to analyse something or to criticise something when you've shaken hands with the notion that if you want Ange Ball, then you got to take the bitter with the better. And the better part of it is that you're always in the game. Whatever the scenario, whoever you're playing, you're always in the game, because there's always that ability to score a goal late, turn the afterburners on. But I think there's always the vulnerability that the other team are also in the game. That's the bitter part of it. And as a team, we've got most of our best players back now. We have options off the bench, and the players that are in the 11 are going to have to start to impress and improve and remember that their position's under threat, because we have competition for places in most spots. So I walk away. I hope this has been a slightly cheerier sort of second attempt at the analysis of the game, but it's not really. It's more of an analysis of an ability to analyse. Like, I feel like, you know, you want to praise the good and criticise the bad, but a lot of the time the feedback is, you know, we won, it doesn't matter, or we lost but you're early, so kind of give it a rest. And that's just never. That's for me. That's, you know, you have to be able to discuss and debate where we can improve. For me, I think that the midfield three needs, or the defensive midfield position needs work. I thought Bentancur had a stinker again yesterday. I didn't think Basuma was spectacular when he came on. You know, I think that we need a specific six, and Ange doesn't. Ange says, you know, he said when asked about Lucas Bergvall, where's he going to play, the 6 or the 8? And Ange was like, I want to get away from this 6-8 thing. We've got a midfielder. And that's fine. But for me, I think that we've maybe taken this idea of versatility a little bit far. I think that there are some positions where you do need someone who knows and understands the specific requirements of it, and can handle the defensive side, and also the ability to kind of to be press resistant and pass. And I'm just a little bit unconvinced by how much of a specialist any of our players are in that particular role. And I think when that particular position, whoever's playing in it, doesn't do a good job, I think it affects everything, the entire chemistry of the team. So lots to think about in that regard. But ultimately, guys, we're fourth. So I am delighted. I love Ange Ball. Yesterday was another game. Like, in moments I was frustrated. I was effing and blinding too much. And I was jubilant and cheering and dancing and all that stuff when the final whistle happened. And, you know, I've learnt my lesson. Never leave a game early when you go to Tottenham. But I don't know whether or not it was a good performance, a bad performance, somewhere in between, or is it just Ange Ball? I don't know, guys. Let me know. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, bye-bye.